right. So I decided to make a little video just for you to understand what it's like to work with me. For you to get what I mean when I say heal your relationship with food and your body, because there's layers. And I found that people don't really get what the work actually is. So I'm going to use a client that has worked with me in the past, just for you to kind of see what the process is like. Okay, so first off, I'm Danny. I'm an eating disorder therapist. I've been working in the industry for more than 12 years now, and I specialize in women who struggle with binging, emotionally eating, and overeating, and body image struggles. I have a private practice, and I also have a program that specializes in healing your relationship with food so you can overcome binging, emotional eating, and overeating, and improve your body image at the same time. I'll leave the link below if you want to apply and get more information on it. So, moving on. Okay, so this client came to me a little bit ago, and she was struggling with binge eating, not every day. She would overeat. She would secretly eat, like in the pantry. She would eat emotionally every day. That she would do every day. And she would come to me and say, I am literally thinking about food all day, every day. So she would be eating and she would be thinking about food. She would be done eating and she would be thinking about her next meal, what she wanted more. Maybe she wanted something sweet. And it was just like that all the time. She was like, I truly feel like I'm addicted to food. And we talked it through, and what she really, really wanted to get from our work together was obviously that food noise to go away, the binging, the emotional eating to go away, the overeating, but also for her to be able to be present with her family. Because what happened was that she was just so in her head the whole time and so worried about her behaviors with food that she didn't want to show that to her kids. So she would like eat in the pantry. She would like really separate herself from her family because she was ashamed, but also because she didn't want her kids to get those behaviors and to see that and kind of learn from that. So she was like, literally, I'm eating with my family and I already binged or I already emotionally ate in the pantry, so I'm not that hungry or not hungry at all. So she would like performance eat. She would eat like a different meal from her family, like a healthier meal, and she would have like no carbs and a little bit of chicken and some veggies, and she was like, oh, I'm full, thank you so much, right? Um, and she was like, I really just want to be present with them and be able to eat what they eat and be hungry when I sit down for dinner and not think about food and then move on with my life. And yeah, that's how we started, right? She came in super frustrated, very upset, kind of sad, just because she realized how much food was taking away from her life and from her being present with her family and friends. So I was like, let's do it. And what we started with, so there's different layers, right, to binge eating, emotional eating, and chronic overeating. And this is what I mean when I say it isn't about the food, right? Food is the symptom. These behaviors that you're doing is not what you need to focus on. What you need to focus on is what's underlying and what's causing you to use food in that way, right? So for her, we talked through body image and we talked through her childhood. Those two were very, very powerful points in her life. And obviously, we talked about her needing to eat enough, like habits, emotions, stuff like that. But the big, big pieces that were underlying were those 2 points. So, first, we started with teaching her how to eat enough, teaching her about hunger and fullness cues, for her to start to feel comfortable and overcome the judgments that she had that were keeping her from being able to eat enough. Because when you don't eat enough, that triggers binging, overeating, and probably more emotional eating. So we started with that always, right? She was like, I know I need to eat enough, but my fear of weight gain, my food rules, I need to eat less carbs, right? Calorie counting are keeping me from being able to do that. So we did step by step and overcame that. So she was able to eat nourishing meals throughout the day. That alone reduced the binging drastically. But it was still happening, right? Binging is not just, oh, you're hungry. Food noise isn't just, oh, you need to eat more. It's a lot deeper than that sometimes. So then we started to work on body image, right? She was like, I'm just scared to gain weight. So every time I face food, I'm thinking I shouldn't be eating this. I'm so nervous. What if I gain weight, right? All the things, the spiral that comes when you fear gaining weight. What I usually say with this is when you're constantly scared and vigilant of your weight and scared of gaining weight, you're constantly going to be thinking about food, fearing food, and telling yourself you shouldn't be eating this. That alone triggers so much overeating, binge eating, and emotional eating. And people don't realize that. That's why body image is my favorite topic, because people don't realize how their body image, and there's different ways, not just this way, but how their body image impacts their relationship with food. So we work through all of that. And what I usually say with this, the fear of weight gain, is you are scared to gain weight, but you're engaging in binge eating, emotional eating, and chronic overeating. And all of these things are making it hard for you to eat healthy, to eat nourishing meals, to eat consistently, to eat fiber, right? Because you feel so impulsive and out of control around food. Plus, you're binging, emotional eating, and overeating. So once you take care of that, then you can focus on, wait, how do I feel in my body? Maybe your body lands in a place that you're like, I'm actually really happy here and I feel comfortable and I can eat nourishing meals throughout the day and not binge eat and not emotionally eat and not chronically overeat, right? So we have to actually tackle these behaviors that you have so that then you can be able to focus on maybe nutrition, nourishing meals, not counting calories, not diets, but yeah, adding nutrition to your diet and caring about your health. All of this is part of caring about your health. So that fear of weight gain is what's actually keeping you from getting to where you want to be with food, movement, your body, right? That's why I don't focus on weight. Because if you focus on weight, then you're just going to constantly be triggering yourself. Okay? That's what makes you feel addicted to food. When you're constantly being like, think about food, think about your weight, think about calories, think about that fear is what can make you feel addicted to food. Okay, so we worked on body image. We worked on so many things that body image has because body image is layered, right? And we worked on her being able to just be, to be happy, to be content, and to be comfortable in her body, to then be able to work on her relationship with food and improve her relationship with food. Then we focus on her childhood, right? So throughout all this work, you're working on skills. And what I usually say, if you don't know where your behaviors are coming from, your habits, right? That you're like, I come home every day and I want to eat, right? If you don't know where that's coming from and I just throw skills at you, then that's not going to work because you're not using the skill that's needed for what's actually coming up, right? So throughout this whole work, we were working through this, right? The habits, the transition periods, right? There's times in your life when transitions can be hard, when I get home, when I leave work, and driving home. And all of these things that are coming up, we're also working on and giving her skills to regulate her emotions, work on her transitions, right? Regulate the anxiety so that she doesn't turn to food, like the function that food has in her life. We worked on that too, right? So we want to see the function that food has in your life so that you're able to use the skills that you need in that moment instead of using food. So throughout this whole work, where the deeper work, body image, childhood, all of that, beliefs, we're doing this work as well. So then we moved to childhood and we saw kind of how her family culture was, how she grew up, the messages that she received growing up, not about just body image, but about food and the examples that she was given, right? So she grew up in a very healthy family. It didn't sound like her family was like a disordered. They just cared about health. They would walk and be like in nature and just like it didn't seem disordered from what she shared. A lot of people grow up in disordered families and that impacts their relationship with food. That's why I'm saying it. But the way that she was taking their health was disordered. Okay? So it could be that you grow up in a family that really views food in a very neutral way. So they're able to be like, oh, you know what? No, I don't want the ice cream right now because I'm really full. Or I don't want the cake right now, even though it's your birthday, but I just cannot eat that right now, right? Or they say, oh, that's too much. Even if somebody says like, oh, that's too much sugar, like it doesn't mean that they're meaning it in a disordered way. It could be that you are taking it in a disordered way. So we worked through that. How she viewed the perspective that she had on her family growing up and the beliefs that that gave her today. She was 42, I believe. So you want to start to see what you believe in, how you view the world, how you view food, right? There's different perceptions, there's different judgments that you're going to add to these things. You add meaning to things, right? So some people might be like, oh, that cake has too much sugar, I don't want to have it. And that's that. For them, it's like, oh, no big deal. But for someone else, they can add so much more meaning to something like that, right? So somebody can be like, oh, that cake has so much sugar, so if I eat it, I'm going to be bad. Or if I don't eat it, I'm going to be good. If I have half the cake, then I'm going to be thinking about how guilty I feel for having it because I give food a moral, I make food a moral issue. So we worked through all of that, right? Her perspective on her family growing up, the examples that she was given and how she took them, right? She gave it a moral compass. Moral compass. So we worked through all of that. She started to believe, like, I need to be this way in order to be successful. I need to be disciplined with food in order to be liked, to be accepted. I need to, I don't know, eat perfectly because if not, then bad things are going to happen. I'm going to gain weight and then I'm not going to be liked. I'm not going to be accepted. And then I'm going to lose my friends and my husband. So it's these different beliefs that you have and that you give food and your body that are impacting your relationship with food. All of this makes your relationship with food chaotic and impulsive. So you have to really work through them for you, specifically what they mean to you, so that you can actually see food as like normal and neutral without adding that difficult meaning that can make it feel chaotic, right? So we worked through the beliefs, her perspective on her family, and how she felt about actually being her own person with her own beliefs and her own self. And we really worked on her coming back to her instead of feeling like she has to be this person who's disciplined and perfect around food that we're triggering more binging, right? In order to be accepted. And that's why I always say when you work on your relationship with food, you work on what's underlying, and what's underlying brings you back to you, the authentic you, the you that feels happy, at peace, knows what they want, knows how they want to live, right? Knows what their priorities are, their values are. That's why it's so healing. It's not just about food. If it was just about the food, I wouldn't have a job. So we worked on that. We worked on all of her family history. We worked on her body image. And we worked on skills. We worked on emotional regulation. We worked on the transition periods. We worked on how she can start to focus on nutrition in a way that isn't going to trigger more binge eating, more overeating, and in a way that's more sustainable for her. Because a lot of times, if you grew up with disordered eating, you turn to quick fixes, you turn to things that you feel like are going to fix your life in a short amount of time, like diets, counting calories, right? Macros, instead of how can I work on different habits that I can sustain for the rest of my life and never have to worry about this again, right? How can I see food in a neutral way so that I can focus on nutrition and stop triggering binge eating and just eat nourishing meals throughout the day, and that's it, right? So yeah, we also worked on reintroducing fear foods that she had. So she had a really hard time having carbs and sweets. So that's what she would binge on. Usually the things that you don't allow yourself to have, you binge on because it's what's not acceptable. It's what's forbidden. So when you give yourself permission, you're like, well, might as well just have everything that I have. So we work on reintroducing all of those things so that you don't have the urge to have them later. So that when you maybe have an urge to binge, it's not like, oh my God, I need the sweets and the carbs. And no, it's a little bit easier to just manage and to see food as food, right? It's not good or bad. It's just regular food, which helps with that food neutrality and that food noise. And it helps you have it in a way, you know, when people have like 2 bites of a dessert and then they're like, oh, I don't want it anymore. And you're like, how did you do that? I would finish it immediately. It helps that. It helps with that. That's literally what you do when you accept, when you reintroduce foods, your foods or forbidden foods, like carbs, sweets, whatever that is, junk food. What you're doing, the intention for that is for you to be able to eat them mindfully and move on from them when you're satisfied after 2, 3 bites, half of it, whatever that is, right? So it's not the intention to binge on them every day, to be mindless with them all the time. The intention is for you to take away the power that that food has over you, like when you're binging, overeating, and emotionally eating on them, right? So we worked on that. We reintroduced feared foods. And what happened was no more binging, no more emotional eating, sometimes overeating, because she was still getting used to eating with her family. So she would get like nervous and do all the things. That's what she was practicing. And sometimes she would overeat. But she knew exactly what to do, what to learn from it, and how to do it next time. So once she left, she said, I'm finally able to eat dinner with my family, not eat in secret anymore, not emotionally eat, not binge eat. I can sit down with friends and family, be mindful, eat dinner, eat the same dinner as my family, not be thinking about food all the time, not be scared of my body, not feel insecure in my body, not feel like everyone's judging my body, and move on with my day and be able to be with my family instead of constantly thinking about what I want to eat, what I just ate, what I'm going to eat tomorrow. And that was the goal. And that's what I mean when I say binging, emotional eating, and chronic overeating isn't about the food. It's about underlying needs that you have to tackle in order for it to feel stable, in order for your relationship with food to be easy, to feel neutral, for you to just be like, oh, I'm craving this. Let me have it. I'll have 2 bites and then I'll move on. But this is what you have to kind of start to shine a light on so that that can happen. It's not just about the food. It's about what's underlying, what's causing you to think about food, to use food in that way, and tackling that in order to get to where you want to be. Okay? So, yeah, that's how it is to actually work on your relationship with food. That's why I get so many people who are like, I already worked with a therapist, I already worked with a dietitian, and it doesn't budge. I still do the same things. It didn't help because people don't usually work on these underlying things that are causing you to binge eat. They usually just focus on like giving you skills to get through a binge urge or give you skills to manage your emotions and regulate your emotions, which is good, but then you're not really healing what's causing those binges and that emotional eating, right? So if you just focus on giving skills, you're not solving anything. You're not fixing anything. In the long run, it's still going to come up. You're going to get tired and you're going to give up. So that's what it's like to work on your relationship with food. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave it in the comments. Follow if you want more. I'm going to post more videos like this, more details and more skills. And yeah, follow me if you have Instagrams. I also post a lot on my stories there. And I hope this helped.